In the earlier section, we have established that evolution is still occurring in us, Homo sapiens. I might have forced my argument with some crooked means by bringing in unsuspecting three authors. I will accept that I am guilty as charged, but I have no doubt that we are evolving. In the earlier section, I talked about evolution in general. In this section, I will be very specific about what is it that is evolving in us, human beings. I will make a list of 13 components. In my opinion, and needless to say that this whole book is my opinion, I do not think that we are evolving in physical form. Like I joked earlier, we are not going to grow four arms, or just because we don't need our hair, we will not start losing them. No, I believe that our consciousness is evolving. What does consciousness mean? I will not go into that because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of books on the philosophy, the metaphysics, and even the physics of consciousness. All I will say is in this book, consciousness is our awareness of our existence and how we react with the world around us. I know it's a vague definition, but I do not want to go much deeper into the definition of consciousness. So I will just turn to the various 13 components of consciousness that I've identified. As soon as you will learn about them, it will just click and it will make automatic sense to you. And then the vagueness that looms on your head about the very definition of consciousness will just vanish. So now take a look at the diagram on your left hand side for those who are watching the video book, and below for those who are reading the ebook. Let me describe to you this diagram, how to read it, and what the various components mean. In this section, I will talk briefly of all the components and try to put them into a single framework or a single picture, linking each of them into a coherent entity. Then later on, I will expound on each of the 13 components so that you can become more educated on each of them. These 13 components are very important for you to understand in unified meditation. As I already told you, unified meditation is mainly about the evolution of us as human beings. You need to know what is it that is evolving in you, and that will help you a lot in your own meditation. Knowing about the 13 components will help you get feedback on your own meditation and whether it is going in the right direction or not. Some meditation techniques use biofeedback to gauge the progress and the correctness of that particular meditation. It could take the form of counting the breaths at the simplest level, and at the most complex level, it could be measuring the brain frequency, like the one I told you about reaching the theta stage. In the mid-range of biofeedback, we have the measurement of heart rate variability, or HRV. But I'm not going to go into details in meditation techniques of other institutions, as I told you earlier. I just brought this point to bring a new concept in the next paragraph. So, like biofeedback helps in meditation, I'm talking about consciousness feedback. So, when you are practicing my teachings and thus unified meditation, you need to assess the impact it has on the 13 components and know how to measure the effects. Based on those effects and the desirability and undesirability of the outcomes of your meditation, then you will either continue that practice or modify it, if not drop it. So let's begin. Now let me teach you how to read the diagram of the 13 components of consciousness. It consists of an upright triangle divided into 5 layers. First, let me talk about those 5 layers. They are a grouping of the 13 components. That means that related components are put in the same layer. You can call it a clustering. Next question that arises is, why is layer 1 above layer 2 and why is layer 5 at the bottom? Is there a meaning on that? Yes, of course there is a meaning. Of course, it's not because it is 1 after 2 after 3 and so on. The sequence is based on the arrangement, and the arrangement is based on the arrow on your left, which reads more prominence in the diagram. So what this means is that the lower you go, that is from layer 1 towards layer 5, the layers become more prominent, meaning that they have a larger impact on the person's consciousness. It means that layer 5 has more impact, is heavier, or is wider, or is more powerful than layer 3 or layer 1. It is like saying a mountain is more permanent than a cloud, even though both are part of the nature. Yes, now you understood. Next, I want you to take a look at the 2 arrows at the top of the diagram reading more impact. What this shows is that as you go from layer 1 to layer 5, the area of the layers become larger. This is natural since it is an upright triangle. But what does it mean? It means that that particular layer has got more impact on the person's life the wider it is. So yes, it is quite similar to going down and going left and right. Again, this is just a notification and a use of the layout of the diagram. It's not written on stone, and if you understand this much, it will do. Now let's go into each of the layers, starting from layer 1. I will talk very briefly on each of the components because I'll talk about them in details later on, as I've been telling you earlier. So the first layer consists of synchronicity. Basically, it's an event that appears to be random but that has some meaning behind it and has a positive effect on the person. If you practice unified meditation, then the synchronicities will increase. In fact, it's not only if you practice unified meditation, but if you practice any meditation, or even if you do not meditate, but you are calm, well composed, a good human being, and you are tuning to some higher calls, then your life will be filled with synchronicities. It means that there will be events in your life that are more than just pure chance. For example, you will meet the love of your life by accident. You will land the best possible job by accident. You will be saved from a very bad accident by accident, and so on. So we'll talk more about it later on. In the second layer, we have 6 components that are clustered together. Whereas synchronicity occurred outside our body, these 6 components occur inside the body, but they still occur at the conscious and subconscious level. The first component in the layer 2 is the mind. Mind is quite confusing term, so I have explicitly mentioned the words feeling and thinking under this component. Whenever some changes occur in our lives, be it through unified meditation or through some shocks and good events or bad events in our lives, the way we feel about the world and think about the world keeps changing. Sometimes it is at a temporary level and sometimes it is at a permanent level. And the shift in consciousness that I'm talking about is when it occurs at a permanent level. For example, let's say somebody got bitten by a dog. This is a negative event. One person might take it as a temporary feeling of anger or surprise or curiosity on why the dog bit him. That would be a temporary feeling and thinking. Another person might develop a total phobia of dogs and would stay away from dogs whenever he sees one from afar. That would be a permanent change in the mind. Next, we have intelligence, learning, memory, and skill. We will go into more details in that relevant section. For now, I'll just be quick to tell you that I have separated what people generalize as simply mind into those components. Intelligence means the way we intake the information that we got from outside, and it also means the way we output our interpretation of those information to the outside world. Through unified meditation and through studies, we can improve that input and output of information that is what I talk about intelligence. Similarly, we can improve our learning methods, our learning capacity, memories, and skills. When there are changes in those four subcomponents, then we can say that the consciousness has shifted or changed to a large extent. Still below that is the next set of components consider of attitude, values, life concepts, and beliefs. Again, these components are shaped by our conditioning in our environment, various life events, and also through meditation. Somebody who has a bad attitude, for example, can become very positive either through counseling or through some meditation practice. How is that possible? Well, some spiritual changes inside, and the attitude changes, and that is caused by changes in layers below that particular layer too, that we'll discuss later on. The same goes on for the other three subcomponents. Next, we have a set of three components, which are the desires and lust, followed by dreams, and then fears. These are even more powerful than the above components in layer 2 itself because they are at the lower level and they affect the above also. I don't think I need to explain much about them, and still, I repeat, I will talk to them about them more later on. Now, let's talk about layer 3. It consists of two components, the energy and creativity, followed by the attraction or repulsion, or the like and dislike preference mix. Sometimes we feel that we are so full of energy, and at other times we feel so drained. Sometimes our mind is so creative and can find a solution to any problems, and other times we are just lost, unable to find any clue to the problems that we are facing. We can change that. It's not enough to eat more or sleep more or exercise more. Again, this is at a lower level because it impacts the above components. In the same layer, we have the attraction and repulsion. We are born with that. For example, I am repulsed by cucumbers and mangoes. I have no idea why, but that is the way it is. Could meditation prevent this repulsion towards those two innocent fruits? Maybe, but I'm just bringing this as a humor. This like and dislike is much deeper, and it includes liking to dance, for example, and somebody else liking to sing or to write. It could be somebody repulsed by the idea of sex, for example. If we are able to exclude negative events and conditioning, then attraction repulsion is something that we are born with, and that constitutes our nature. Again, it is at layer 3 because it impacts all the other components above it. Fourth layer, we have genes. Needless to say, we are born with genes, and they govern how long our nose will be to how we are going to age and so on. And then, as I mentioned to you early on in the book about the cancer, mutation of genes occur even due to some trauma. So unified meditation or any meditation could theoretically have an effect on the genes, and that we would call a real genetic evolution of some kind. Even self-healing like counseling, self-counseling, and relaxing that has been prescribed in that book causes a reverse mutation of the genes, meaning that within a few days, sometimes hours, the cancer just disappears. So genes evolving is no metaphysics, but it is a physical reality. Next, in the same layer 4, we have the component called pranic nervous system and brain wiring. That will need a bit more explanation, and that I will do later on. But for now, I just want to explain to you in a very short way. Pranic means that it comes from prana, which is a kind of bioenergy. Of course, science hasn't been able to measure it, but we can find its evidence in Chinese acupuncture or various practices of Reiki or distance healing. Some examples of pranic nervous system change is when you have people able to tolerate lots of pain, carry very heavy weights. If you ask them, they talk about doing something with their breathing. Well, that is prana or bioenergy at work. This works at a level that is below the nervous system. Again, like the energy that we talked earlier on about creativity. This bioenergy or prana hasn't been measured yet with our modern scientific equipments. Similarly, brain wiring is something that fMRIs are able to slightly measure, but again, we don't have the experiments yet to measure how exactly the brains are wired to achieve certain behaviors or levels of thinking or skills or memories, etc. Again, uh, I have mentioned these components here because meditation can affect them. Then the final layer 5 consists of something called the center of consciousness, COCs, ZAPs, and COCs activation. That's a bit complicated, but you don't have to be worried like if you were studying quantum physics, because it's not that complicated at all. The COCs is a word that I use to replace the common term called chakra in meditation. Then I have used the word zap to substitute the currently trending term kundalini. So COC activation means awakening of the kundalini. Those who are well read in meditation books will understand the later terms that I try to substitute. Those who are not familiar even with the later set of terms, well, I will be talking more about them in the relevant section. For now, I will just say that they are a hot spot of energy of some kind where all the above components are affected. More on that later on. Finally, I mentioned the 13th component, which is the ESPs or extrasensory perceptions and soul senses. These are very subtle and hard to attain. They constitute the tools for mysticism or activity within. Without this, meditation, at least unified meditation, doesn't make much sense. Basically, they are the inner hands, ears, nose, or sense organs of your soul, inside your soul. No, it's not just your imagination, it's something real. But again, at this point, I'm just introducing to you all the 13 components without getting deep and heavy on them. Next, I will talk to you about how these 13 components evolve using the diagram below. So now we know what are the 13 components of consciousness. In order to understand how evolution occurs in those 13 components or 5 layers, as we have discussed earlier, please take a look at the diagram on your left-hand side or above. I propose that evolution can occur in 2 ways. The first one is represented by the diagram at the top, and the second one by the diagram below it. Let's talk about the first diagram and what it means. In this diagram, you will notice that it is the same upright triangle divided into 5 layers as the one we discussed earlier. I have simplified it by not showing the 13 components divided between the 5 layers. So in this model of evolution, what is happening is that each of the layers is evolving one at a time. For example, the layer 1 is evolving as the blue triangle being extending towards the right. You have to understand that the more right you go towards 2, the more the evolution has occurred in that human being. So the first evolution occurs in layer 1, and then after that it occurs in layer 2, represented by the green triangle that is skewed towards the right, followed by the third layer, which is represented by the purple skewed triangle, and then we have the fourth layer evolution represented by the orange skewed triangle, and finally we have the bottommost layer, layer 5, represented by the red skewed triangle evolving to the maximum. So this triangle is telling us that evolution in this person is occurring layer by layer, with the less permanent and less impactful layers evolving first. This should be followed by the more permanent layer at the bottom. Theoretically, each evolution milestone will be the beginning point for the next layer evolution. Consequently, the maximum evolution would be occurring, which is the point that the red skewed triangle from layer 5 reaches. I know I might be sounding a bit too abstract, but bear with me and I will give you some illustrations at the end of this section. For now, let me describe to you the second diagram. Here, the evolution is a bit different. It is occurring across all the 5 layers in an incremental way. That is represented by the first triangle, which is white, and then there is an incremental evolution, which is represented by the yellow, blue triangle, and that leads to more evolution, which is represented by the green triangle. Mind you, I have used the same colors above to show you that the same outcome can be achieved through different evolutionary paths. Now, the evolution continues, and all the 5 layers take a different form, and now we have the purple triangle, followed by the orange triangle, and finally the red triangle, which corresponds to the same level of evolution as the red skewed triangle above. Now let's us explore with some illustration what this abstract idea means. In the first diagram, as you can see in the earlier diagram that represented the 13 components across the 5 layers, this person is experiencing dramatic improvement in his ability to make synchronicities in his life. Then, being motivated by this sudden divine connection that he feels, because it just seems that everything is happening for his own good, luck is in his favor, and he might even think that the gods or his guardian angels are taking care of him. Whatever is happening in his life cannot be explained simply by coincidence, and thus it is more than that. It is pure synchronicities. Slowly, this person will get used to those synchronicities, and he will be experiencing layer 2 evolution in terms of mind, intelligence, attitude. It means that he'll feel more intelligent, he'll be able to use his mind in more effective ways. His attitude, values will change for the better, of course. His lust will become in his control. His dreams will change qualitatively and quantitatively to become more spiritual, and he will be able to overcome his fears. This is in tandem with his experience of the universe conspiring to help him succeed. And once all these changes occur in layer 2, then his evolution will occur at the creativity level and energy level. You'll feel much more energetic, creative. People will comment that he never seems to be tired. He seems to have a solution for any problem. Then the things that attracted him and repulsed him before, that were obstacles in his spiritual progress, will become decimated, and they will be taken over by likes and dislikes that are very useful for his spiritual progress. After that, layer 4 evolution in the form of changes in his genes that he might feel in slight changes in his physiology and even physical appearance. His metabolism would be observed here. He will also feel his bioenergy or pranic nervous system improve. You'll feel very less drained, and a general sense of bliss will occur because of that. The brain wiring will become much more unified and expansive, increasing his ability to understand and apply knowledge of any kind, from spiritual to material. Finally, all this will lead into layer 5 evolution in terms of center of consciousness, mainly, meaning that his very concept of life and composition will begin to change, and he will be feeling it. That will be shown in his increase of ESPs and soul senses. So this person has experienced evolution layer by layer. each time moving towards highest evolution. In the second diagram, all those layers are felt simultaneously as evolving. For example, this person will feel a bit of change in his center of consciousness, and small new ESPs will be experienced in the layer 6, 5. Then he'll also feel that he feels less drained slightly and has more brain capacity as per layer 5. This will be followed by slight increase in energy and creativity. Then in layer 2, he will feel that his mental, intellectual capacity and attitudes, dreams, fears have improved slightly, but he wouldn't know how. Consequently, he will be experiencing slightly more synchronicities. So that would be the first set of evolution for this person. And then this will repeat on at an incremental level until he reaches the highest evolution possible, indicated by the red triangle. So in this way, you have understood how evolution in the 13 components and 5 layers can occur theoretically. Of course, we need a theory to begin with, and we can work towards proving it or disproving it later on. Of course, we don't need to delve too much on whether the evolution was of the first type or the second type. Most likely it will be a mixture of the two. So now let us try to understand each of the 13 components separately in more details, so that you'll be able to practice unified meditation in order to attain evolution in a very systematic and well educated fashion.